Hello, hello, and welcome to Fine, I'll Talk About It, the podcast where we say the quiet parts out loud. Real talk, straight to the point, no fake positivity. I'm your host, Danielle Young, and today I'm joined by Jeff Loving. Jeff is the author of Holding Onto the Light, A Father's Journey Through Loss and Healing. He is a father of loss times two, as well as a NICU father. Today we're talking about the role of men in the loss and healing journey and why it matters right now. Jeff, welcome to Fine, I'll Talk About It.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to be here too. This is not a topic that a lot of people talk about. And, I think in the topic of loss, a lot of people, especially loss of a child, a lot of people just automatically think that the mother is the one that's grieving the most. So I'm really happy that you're here sharing the dad's perspective.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
why don't you tell a little bit about you and about your journey
Yeah, for
and
sure.
how you ended up on the podcast today?
Absolutely. Yes, that's great. So a little bit about a background about us. So we live out in North Carolina. We've been out here for about 3.5 years. I'm originally from the Midwest. My wife is originally from Maryland area. And so we actually met in Nebraska on an off chance that we both were not from there. And we just happened to be living there at the same time and got married in 2020. And then our journey began. So we just actually celebrated our 5 year anniversary this last August, which is crazy. Thank
Congratulations.
you. Yeah, it was like, oh my gosh, we've been married for 5 years. But as I'll allude to, or I'll share in a second, but it feels like we've lived through about 30 years of marriage through
Yeah.
our story, to be honest. But she's amazing. Love her to death. She's such a huge support for me and um, has been such a huge, like, just person that I can just turn to, and vice versa in our journey of grief and loss. And it's just like I couldn't imagine doing life without her, to be honest. It's just been such a blessing. And we have our daughter. We just recently actually had her in May of this year. So she was our NICU baby. She was 5 weeks early, but she is thriving now, and she's beautiful, and
Good.
she is full of energy, and she's almost 6 months, which is crazy to think
Oh,
about.
yeah.
So yeah, and I am definitely in my girl dad era. That is for
Mm.
sure. So and
I
I
love
am,
that.
yep, and I am living it up every single day. Oh my gosh, she brings so much joy.
Oh,
And then we have a
that's sweet.
little golden doodle who has been with us through our whole journey. So
Mm.
I'm sure that our dog has some
Your
trauma that she needs to unpack too.
your emotional support dog needs an emotional support dog.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, she has been such a huge blessing for us. Like, she is an amazing dog. She has a lot of
Oh,
energy. She still acts like a puppy, even though she's not anymore. But yeah, she's amazing. So yeah, to give you kind of a little bit more, um, I have been an author for a number of years. I recently published a book called Holding On to the Light, as you said at the beginning, back in February of this year. And it really stemmed from my desire to bring dads of loss into the conversation of being a lost parent. Um, for me specifically, through our journey, it was really hard to feel like I had a space to grieve properly and to really unpack what I was feeling, while also providing and showing up and doing all the husbandly duties that I was expected to do.
oh,
Um, and that was really a big challenge for me, because as I learned and as I walked through our two losses, um, it became very apparent that there are not a lot of resources for dads out there. There's not a lot at all. Um, and nothing against resources for women or organizations for women. Like, they are needed. They are amazing. I've had some amazing connections with leaders of organizations that specifically focus on mothers of loss. And it's kind of ironic that every single conversation that I have about this topic, they usually say something along the lines of like, man, I wish there was an organization for dads, or like, we need people to come alongside us to provide information and for support for dads. And I'm like, yeah, I wish there was.
Yeah, for sure.
There are a few that I have actually found. One of them I will give a shout out. It's called Sad Dads Club. They're based out of Portland, Maine, and I actually got a chance to have a one-on-one with Rob, who's the one of the main founders of that organization, and it's an amazing community of just lost dads of all walks of life, and that has been I'm a little bit further down on our journey. But even that community for me has been very healing, to just be surrounded by other guys that get it and just feel the way that I felt. So huge shout out to that organization. And then obviously that's why I wanted to write a book. I was like, I just want to write something to provide for dads that they don't have to feel alone or feel bad for feeling grief and hurt and expressing their emotions. And so that's kind of my heart behind the book, and that's why I've been going on to podcasts, and I've been looking for podcasts that really align with that vision, and that's where yours came up. And I was like, this sounds like something I would love to talk about, because I feel
Yes.
like it is not talked about enough. So I really appreciate you letting me come on here. So
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm all about talking about stuff that isn't talked about ever. So take us back to that first loss, and you're looking for resources.
mhm.
Like, how did you handle that loss?
Yeah, for sure. So our first one happened so we got pregnant August of 2021. And I am the type of guy that I wear my heart on my sleeve. I am not shy of my emotions at all. I'm very aware that I cry all the time. I
Which
apologize in
is
advance if
good.
yeah, I apologize in advance if I cry on this podcast, because it will
Oh,
probably
do
happen.
not. No, don't apologize. It is totally
uh,
fine. No, that's
my
good. Men need to know that they can be
I
vulnerable, and I
agree.
I
I
love
agree.
it.
My wife actually makes fun of me sometimes that I'll like cry at like the Great British Baking Show, like we talked about earlier. Like
We
I cried at
did.
the finale, and I was just like, "Oh
Yeah,
my gosh, yes!" Every episode, I find myself crying. It's
I bawled
amazing.
my eyes out at the finale.
Yeah, exactly. So um, when we found out we were pregnant, we both knew very early on, like before we even got married. We had conversations while we were dating, and we were like, we both want kids one day. Like that is a desire that we both have, and so we knew like right out the gate, like we would like to try and get pregnant, like pretty soon after we got married. So about a year into our pregnant or into our marriage, we got pregnant with our first son, and we were definitely those newlyweds and first time parents, and we were just like, everything is like sunshine and roses and nothing is wrong with the world,
Yeah.
and like just put out all the negativity. And well, that was me at least. My wife is definitely more of a realist than I am very much an optimist. I'm like, everything's going to be great, I have nothing to worry about here. And so when we got pregnant, I was like, when can I tell everybody? Because that's what I want to do. Like, I'm the
Yeah.
type of person that I'm like, I cannot keep a secret to save my life. Like, I'm awful with secrets. I'm awful with hiding gifts from people, because I'm just so excited to share it. And so my wife was like, you have to wait until at least 14 weeks. Like, that is the bare minimum that I'm asking you. And so I was like chomping at the bit to just tell people. As soon as we got there, I put together like um this idea, and I was like, hey, we should do this and do like a little pumpkin inside of a bigger pumpkin, and like that's our announcement. And so we did that. It was
Oh,
absolutely adorable. And we shared it online. And back then, I would say, if I could go back, I would do things so much more differently. I would have more awareness of putting out a pregnancy announcement like that. And there's nothing, I'm not like harping on anybody for doing pregnancy announcements. Like, people are going to do them. Like, that's their own thing. For me personally, I would take time to really think about the words and the intentionality behind sharing that kind of news, because at the time I didn't even think about how this would negatively affect somebody. I was more so thinking about, like, this is for us and this is for our life, and I'm excited about it, so I don't care who sees this.
Right.
And so fast forward to, and that was in October, and then November we went and we traded in my car. We got an SUV because we're like, we need a bigger space so we can put the baby seat in the back. And and then we didn't know what gender he was going to be at that time. We were going to find out at 20 weeks. And then my wife had been preparing a surprise birthday party for me for my 30th. And we were going to share his gender at the gender reveal. And it would have been like, we would have found out his gender on my birthday, and it would have been like such a sweet moment and everything. But the week of Thanksgiving that year rolled around, and I just remember she woke up one day and she just was like, I just do not feel good. Like, I feel off. And so she called out of work. She was working at a church at that time. And she called out of work, and it was on a Monday, and she was like, I just don't feel well. And so she was on the couch like all day. So she called her OBGYN, and they were like, hey, we can't get you until like 4 o'clock this afternoon, which is fine. Like, I know that it was like a last minute appointment. So it was like, oh, it's okay. We get into the appointment, and we were sitting there, and the tech was like doing the ultrasound and everything looked great, and she was like, no issues. And I just remember being in that room, and I could see the tech. My wife could not. She was like looking at the monitor or whatever, and the tech was like, she went from everything's fine, and I saw her face like go sheet white, and I was like, there is an issue. I don't know what it is, but there is an issue. And she just says, I need to go get the doctor quick. And this is like right at the end of our appointment. So she goes and gets the doctor comes in, and she's like, you guys need to go to the hospital like immediately. You are already dilating. You're several centimeters dilated already. You're going to be having this baby in the next 48 to 72 hours. And we
Wow.
were like, what?
Yeah.
We're 19 weeks at this point, and we're like, what are you talking about? So we're hysterical. We're like bawling our eyes out. We just went in for a routine checkup to say everything's fine, and we get sent to the emergency room, get admitted. And they tried everything they could. They genuinely did. They lowered her head so her head was down, raised her legs up so that they could try and use gravity to keep him in. They tried antibiotics, stuff like that, but he was already descending.
Yeah.
And so we found out what we were having. It turns out it was a boy, and we already had a boy name. We had a girl name too, but we had a boy name, and we named him Davian, Davian Miles. And um, we're really big into name meanings, and so that was just really special to us. And it was like, this is what we want to name him, and everything like that. And she unfortunately had to give birth to him. He was like 19 weeks and 4 days, if I remember correctly. And he was only about 8.9 ounces. And I just remember holding him, and his skin was like translucent. Like, you could still see his heartbeat through his skin. And he held on for about 43 minutes after he was born. And he he didn't have his lungs developed. So that was the main thing. And I just remember holding him in my hands and just seeing that heartbeat just fading until it was non-existent anymore. And as a first time father, that was like excruciating. Like, I can't even put into words what that felt like. Um,
Sure.
and to even have to see my wife have to go through that, I think that for me was even harder than my own emotions, because I had to see her hold our son and watch him pass away in her hands. And it's like, no parent should ever have to experience that.
Right.
Um, and unfortunately we did. And before he was born, just like right before he was born, they wanted to do a amniocentesis test, which is basically a test where they have this massive long needle,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely terrifying, that they stuck into her stomach and drew out some amniotic fluid, and they tested it for an infection. Turns out she did have an infection. That's going to come into play in a bit. So that's important to know, that there was an infection in the in the amniotic fluid. So it's most likely that if she would have tried to hold on until like 23 weeks, if he would have been able to stay in there, that she probably would have gotten sepsis. And it was just, there was we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Literally, the
Right.
doctors were asking us, do you want your son to pass away, like deliver him now and your son pass away? Or do you want to try and hold him in your body and you both potentially die? And I was like,
Wow.
how am I supposed to answer that question?
Yeah.
Like, do I, yeah, it was honestly one of the,
It's an impossible choice.
it is, it really was. And I was like, how can you ask me that with a straight face? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Obviously neither, but
Right.
so that was really, really difficult. And so he was born on November 24th, 2021, and it was the day before Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving and Christmas and my birthday all wrapped up in this holiday season is really, really difficult for us. And thankfully, my parents only lived about 3 hours away from us at that time. And they were down there when he was born. And they, we originally were going to go up to my parents' place for Thanksgiving. And they were just like, dropped everything. My sister and her husband and their kids came down, and we got discharged on Thanksgiving Day. And they were already at our apartment. They had everything set up. And they were just like, we don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. We can talk about him if you would like to. We just want to be here for you. And
Oh,
that was that was honestly everything. That was
yeah.
so life-giving to us, of just being like, we can share this meal together when it's supposed to be a day of thankfulness and family, and we just went through the most tragic thing a parent can go through yesterday.
Yeah. But
um,
it's great that you had that support system, though. I
oh,
mean, not
absolutely.
a lot of people have that. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's
And that's
one thing
something
to be
that,
thankful for
yeah,
anyway.
absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And we definitely know our community is like, we do not shy away from that, that we are
Yeah.
so thankful for the people that we have in our lives. There's people that came across the whole nation, to come in person, virtually, whatever, that like people showed up for us. And that is amazing, because like you said, a lot of people don't have that.
Right.
And so we held this funeral the following week, the day before my birthday. And yeah, the day before my birthday. And so we had our surprise party scheduled for that next day. I guess it was the day after my birthday, but we had this surprise party scheduled for that Saturday. And my wife was like, do you want to still have this birthday party even though it's the same day as his funeral? And I was like, yes, because I think having his funeral and then having my birthday to celebrate is not about me. It's to celebrate all the people that came in
Mm,
to celebrate him, and
yeah.
then just to be present with us. That's what I needed, and that's what we needed. And that was just so, oh my gosh, it was so life-giving. And we held on to that for a long time,
Yeah.
because the next few months after that went away, all the people went back home to their own lives and everything. The world just kept moving,
Yep.
and we were still stuck. We were still stuck with our grief. We were still stuck with an empty apartment aside from our dog.
Yeah.
um, and having to move away from, we were getting stuff ready for a nursery, to it's a spare bedroom, and this is where we're at now. And that was really difficult,
Yeah, I can
um,
imagine.
because like I said before, I was looking for resources. I was looking for anything. And some people sent me like a book, and I was like, well, this is kind of helpful. It's not really my situation. And it's one book. And for my wife, she had like a lot of stuff that
Yeah.
was like resources, gifts, not like books. Like, I was like, man, I like this 100-page book that's going to get me through all my grief. And she's got like a truckload of stuff that's waiting for her, which is amazing. Again, I'm not knocking it, but I'm just like, I would have felt supported had I been able to have stuff that I could have pick and choose from, of like what would work for me, versus here's this one book that I get.
Yeah.
But
Like, thanks to this one book, but this
yeah,
isn't gonna
exactly.
cut it.
Yeah, exactly. So we both went through therapy, and that was very helpful, because something that was kind of, I don't want to say it's like an unwritten expectation, but it kind of is if you go through a loss as a man, specifically as a male, um, it's almost expected of you to show up for everybody else and leave yourself last, which in most cases, 100% agree. Like when it comes to me being a husband and now as a father, it's like I would gladly sacrifice feeding, making sure that they are ready to go, everything, and then take care of myself every single time. But then there's some times where I'm like, when I was in the middle of that deep grief, where I was just like, I just need to take a moment away from all this responsibility and just really sit with what I'm feeling. And instead, I'm being bombarded with this, you got to be strong. You can't show your emotions. You got to show up for your family. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? Like, you can't be crying in the bathroom at 2 a.m. Like, you need to be going and making money and like bringing home, like, whatever. And it was almost as if I was not given the permission to feel what I was feeling.
Hmm.
And that was extremely difficult for me to wrestle with, because I felt guilty. Um, and my wife was at her lowest point. I was at my lowest point. And somebody told us very early on in our journey, after we had our first loss, they said, at being somebody from the lost community as well, said, when a marriage goes through a loss like that, it's on a knife's edge. It can fall one of two ways. It's either going to fall, you're going to get divorced and you're just going to walk away and no hard feelings, or you're going to fall to, this is going to make your marriage so much stronger than you could ever imagine, and it's going to really refine you into being able to tackle anything together, and that you will never break that marriage, because this has forged you even more so, to the point of, if you hold to traditional values of like saying vows at your wedding, it's like, this is putting those vows to a test. Because I feel like in a lot of situations in America specifically, you go to a wedding and you hear people say their vows and you're like, oh, that's nice. Like, but they don't really know the credence behind them until you're actually put to the test of like, can you actually live up to these vows, or
Yeah.
are you going to not be able to? And nothing against people that have gotten divorced or separated, whatever. I don't know your situation, but for us, it was just not an option. We just were like, we said those vows and we meant them. And I'm not going to walk away from this situation, because even though it is the most difficult, awful situation I've ever been in, I genuinely could not imagine walking away from the situation and leaving you to grieve, and leaving myself to grieve on my own too. And so I'm very thankful that we made that decision to stay together,
Yeah.
because there a lot of times it doesn't happen that way. And there are people that fall the other way, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
it's nothing against them. Um, so yeah, that's our first loss. So it's a lot to unpack, I know, but that's our first loss.
Yeah.
So
No, it's great. And I mean, thank you for sharing all of that.
yeah.
When on this journey did you decide that you were healed enough to try for a second
So
after
yeah, that's a
that?
great question. So we actually, it took us about a year and a half to really come out of like the depths of our grief. And we ended up moving to North Carolina in that time. So that following May, so May of 2022, we bought a house via FaceTime. And we were
Wow.
just, yeah, we were just like, you know what? We need a change. And the mountains are very healing for us. And we just love being in nature and going hikes. And we went to Asheville for our honeymoon. And we're like, what about North
Mm,
Carolina? Maybe one day. And so then fast forward to 2 years later, we're like, what about North Carolina? Why not? Let's just do it anyway. And so we moved out here and didn't know anybody. Bought a house, moved out here, and started putting roots down, meeting people, building community, and found a new church out here that we really plugged into. And I feel like about a year after living here, um, we really just made the conscious decision of saying like, we weren't over our grief of Davian. We weren't over our loss, but we were moving into a space of like, we're willing to put our trust in something above us again. Like we're willing to put our faith out there and just say like, we want this for our family. We want to try this. And we are holding on to that faith that it is going to happen for us. Now it might be for some people that are not religious or not identify as Christians, that might sound crazy, but that's just our specific situation. That's where we come from. That's where we believed in. And
yeah.
so in the summer of 2023, we tried again, and we got pregnant, and it was like, oh my gosh, it's redemptive. And then on the other hand, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like a week apart from Davian's due date, and it's like literally almost
Oh,
in line with every single thing that led up to our second loss. Like it was literally, I think it was 8 days apart from
wow.
Davian's due date and our second son's due date. And so it was almost like a mirror. So we got pregnant in August, and then we were just like going up, and we're like, oh my gosh, we are dreading week 19. Like that's if we can get past 19 weeks and 4 days, it'll be the furthest we've ever been in a pregnancy. And it was terrifying. I'm not even going to lie.
Yeah.
We were trying to be hopeful. We were trying to be like optimistic, but even Mr. Optimistic, there was a lot of anxiety around it because it was so similar. We found out very early on that we were having another boy. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's like, this is like repeat again.
Yeah.
and
Wow.
so, and so, what happened was while we were here, we found a doctor who got, we were recommended by one of our doula friends, who I was very skeptical of a doula at first, and then got to know her and got to know her ministry and her education and like the stuff that she educated us on. I learned so much as a man. And that's something that I will say up and down. Like, if any men are listening to this and they want to support their wives in regards to their pregnancy journey, they need to educate themselves on everything that goes into pregnancy.
Yes.
Not just show up one time and just be like, all right, see you in 9 months. Like, you should make a conscious effort to learn everything, even if it does not apply to your wife, everything.
Yeah.
Take a class, take a fertility class, take a um whatever, like learn from an educated source that has the resources to help with that process, because that is what we did. And I honestly feel that's why we got pregnant the second time, because we struggled with infertility for about a year and a half through learning and education and trying things. And we finally found the thing that worked for us, because we learned that my wife has PCOS through that. And so it made getting pregnant harder. We didn't know about PCOS before our first son, and now we do. And now we're like, okay, these are the things that we need to do. These are the things that do not work. And I know I can speak confidently on stuff that has worked, stuff that does not work. And like, I know so much more than I ever did from high school health class. Let's just say that. Um, and it was all because I took the conscious effort to not just see my wife go and take this education seriously, but to say, like, I need to learn this too, because my health is going to also impact our future children. My diet, my exercise, my willingness to support you in whatever way, that is 100% going to affect our future children as well. And if I want to have a child, I need to start taking care of myself, as well as learning how to take care of you alongside you. So that's just for the men. Do that. Your wives will thank you. I can promise you.
Yeah, we would. Yes. So this was all before you got pregnant with your second,
100%.
or was this
yes.
after? Okay, so this
Nope,
is before.
it's all before. Yep, this
Okay.
is the in between time.
Got it.
So that's what we learned through our doula friend who lives up in Indiana, Cammie. We love you if you listen to this. But she was such an inspiration and such a huge help for us. And I had her on speed dial. I would ask her questions throughout this whole second pregnancy. I'd be like, Cammie, what do I do? Like, what does this mean? And so she was so patient with us, and so helpful. And
That's awesome that you had that support this time.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Like we still ask her questions all the time. So she's wonderful. But basically, what they told us in Nebraska was that my wife needed to, since she was high risk, she had a preterm pregnancy in the second trimester, she needed to go to a high risk doctor. And one of the things that they recommended was a cerclage procedure. Before Davian, no idea what a cerclage was. Read up on it. Now I know all about what a cerclage is. There's different stitches, all that. Basically, what it is between weeks 12 and 14, they will go in and stitch the cervix closed so that a woman has a higher chance, not a definitive chance, a higher chance of making it to a full term pregnancy. It has about a 95% success rate to get to viability and beyond. And that's something else I learned about, is like viability. Once you get to 23 weeks or around, there's multiple different variations of what is considered viable, but every single week your chances of success go up every single week. And so we were like, we should get a cerclage. Sounds great. We will definitely get a cerclage because we want to have a baby. So we found out we were pregnant with our second son, go to high risk doctor, say, hey, we'd like to schedule a cerclage for week 12 at our 8-week appointment. We were like, hey, we'd like to do this in 4 weeks. And he told us, I've been doing this a long time. Based on your medical history and based on that amniocentesis that they did and found an infection, I am not thoroughly convinced that you actually have an incompetent cervix that dilates too early in pregnancy. We will monitor it from 14 weeks on. And we'll monitor it every 2 weeks. And if it ever gets below 2.5 centimeters in length, then we'll do an emergency cerclage. And
well, that's
at the time, we were like, okay, well, you're a medical professional who has been doing this for 30 plus years. Yeah, we're going to trust you. Like, we trust him. And I was like, and back in my mind, I was like, it just seems odd that they're not willing to just do the procedure. Yeah. We're like, we're trusting you. So fast forward to week 16 is the first time that we go in and get a measurement done. And she gets a measurement done. She's at 4.9 centimeters in length, I believe, which is a very healthy length. So go in
It's
2 weeks
okay.
later, get another measurement. It goes from 4.9 to 2.7 or
In a
2.9
week.
in 2 weeks,
2 weeks.
2.9, 2.9. And we were like, can we get the cerclage? And he was like, well, you can come back in a week and we'll see where it is because it's not
Oh,
below 2.5.
what?
So that next week was Thanksgiving leading into week 19. And so we go through Thanksgiving. Everything's looking fine. We come back. It's week 19. We're already stressed because we're in like the dreaded week.
Yeah.
Already anxiety is above the like our threshold. We're like freaking out. We're like, oh my gosh, this is the week. Like everything's looking the same. Like what's going on? We go in. It had shortened from 2.9 centimeters to 2.7 centimeters. And we're like, okay, we are 0.2 centimeters away. Can we please get a cerclage? And he's like, well, I'm just not convinced. We just
God.
wait till it's a 2.5 and then we'll do a cerclage. You can either come in next week or we can wait 2 weeks and see what happens. And we were like, we would like to come in next week. We would like to get the surgery done today if possible. And he sent us on our way. And I guess before he sent us on our way, he was like, you can get a second opinion if you'd like from somebody else. And we're like, well, we don't know anybody else here. We just moved here. Like, who are we supposed to go get a second opinion from?
Right. And like, no, you're our doctor. We trust you.
Exactly. It's like,
Why would we
okay,
need a second opinion?
if you're gonna offer a second opinion, at least give us some options to go get a second opinion from. And he just
Right.
like, you can go get a second opinion, and he just like left the room. We're like, okay, bye, I guess.
Oh my God.
So,
Wow.
so that all happened. So that's like, that was on a Wednesday. Fast forward to Sunday is my birthday. Everything's great. My wife was like, what do you want to do for your birthday? Because the last 2 birthdays have been awful. What would you like to do this year? And I said, I just want to hang out at home with you and our dog and just enjoy the evening. So we did. We sat at home. We ended up playing some games on our Switch with some friends of ours. And later that night, my wife calls me into the bathroom and she says, I want you to look at this and I want you to tell me what you see. So I look down and sure enough, her amniotic sac is starting to descend through her cervix. And I had never seen that, but I already knew what it was. I didn't even have to Google it. I was like, I know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
And we rush to the hospital. It's like midnight. We get admitted. And they tried everything that they could. They put her bed so her head was down again, legs up, gravity. And so that was like all Monday morning from like midnight to 8 a.m. or whatever. And we get to about noon and we're getting hungry. So I'm like, I'm going to go get us some food. I'll be right back. Our nurse, we've made really good conversation with her. We have really good rapport. She respects what our boundaries are, what we're expecting. And we say, we do not want anybody in this room unless both of us are here and we allow them in here. Not even our doctors, like nobody. I leave for 10 minutes to go get food. In that 10-minute time frame, that doctor that we had just seen on Wednesday came to our hospital, came to the floor that my wife was on, asked the nurse, is she in there? I'd like to speak with her because I'm her doctor. She says, oh, they don't want anybody in there until they're both in there. He's getting food. He'll be back in like 10, 15 minutes. She turns around and walks into the room. He just walks in behind her and just like pushes the nurse out of the way. This is a travel nurse, so she doesn't have any authority in this hospital. She's just there on an assignment.
Yeah.
And he grabs a whiteboard and starts drawing stuff on it and explaining to my wife what's happening to her. Like she doesn't already know that she's about to have this baby in like the next 48 to 72 hours, most likely. And he's like, so we weren't able to do a cerclage this time around. Moving forward, I feel like we should do what's called an abdominal stitch, where we'd open you up at the midsection and we'd stitch your cervix above the cervix so that you would be able to carry your baby to full term. Unfortunately, that means that you'd have to have a cesarean birth every single time after that. But unfortunately, you're probably going to have to deliver this baby due to the laws in North Carolina regarding abortion and like how you want to go about that. Like, I don't know the specifics with this specific case, but it might be advantageous to have a conversation with your husband to have this baby sooner than later so that you don't break any laws that might pass in the next week or so, because there was a lot of discourse going around
Right.
like Roe v. Wade and stuff at that time. And he's
Yeah.
like, you should probably decide that sooner than later, and then just leaves and didn't
My
wait for
God.
me. And so I'm like walking up the hallway, no idea that this just happened. I see him and I'm like, I do not want anything to do with you right now. Not
Yeah.
knowing what he had just did, I walk in, my wife is hysterically crying. She is
Oh.
beside herself. Her nurse is like trying to comfort her. I'm like, what the F just happened? Like, I just left for 15 minutes. I have Chick-fil-A. Like, what's going on? And so they informed me, and immediately we were both like, we are transferring to the other hospital in town. Like, the better NICU, we're going there. Like, there's no question in our mind. So
Yeah.
our doctor, like our not the specialist, like our actual OBGYN doctor there was like, yep, 100% agree. Like, I'm going to sign the papers for you and we're going to get this transfer immediately. And that doctor, she was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And so we got transferred to the other hospital, and get there, the staff they already knew what was going on. They already were brought up to speed. And the following morning we had a ultrasound, and they did confirm that we were like, his fetal parts were descending, and it was just a matter of time that he was going to be birthed, and he wasn't going to make it. And so it was literally our nightmare playing out
Relived.
again.
Yeah.
And we were in the middle of week 19 again.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah. And so the doctor that came in, though, she was so intentional, such an amazing, like, just her presence was just so calming. And she was just like, I'm so sorry that this is happening to you, but I'm going to make every effort to make this as bearable as possible, even though it is unbearable.
Yeah.
And that was
Well,
so impactful for us.
at least she had a
And
better bedside manner than the other
oh,
one. Good
absolutely,
Lord.
absolutely. And one thing I will say about that hospital in particular is they have a division that is specifically for bereavement and like bereavement counseling and bedside help or whatever. I don't remember the exact title, but there's a lady that works on that floor, her and her colleague, um, and her name is literally Angel. Like, that is her legal name. And she walks in and she is this hilarious woman who was able to mix humor and realness and humility and just brighten our mood, but also like sitting with the grief.
Yeah.
And we were so thankful for her. We still are. We still, like, we'll see her every once in a while around town. We're like, oh my gosh, you're the best person that we
Angel.
ever know. It's literally our angel.
Literally your angel. Oh, that's
And
so sweet.
I specifically remember my favorite story with Angel in this regard. My parents came down. It's like an 18-hour trip. My parents drove overnight. And one, like, they're just like booked it. Her parents came down from Maryland, which is like a 6-hour trip. And then her best friend, who's also a doula, came down, a different doula, came down from Ohio. And they all were able to get down here before we delivered him. And we had told Angel what our son's name was going to be, but we hadn't told my parents yet. And so, so we were, she was like going through like what would happen after he was born. Like we would be able to do pictures and like get like mementos of him and stuff like that, and like footprints. And she's like, and I picked out some outfits that you guys can put him in for some pictures and stuff.
Oh, nice.
She was like, I know this is me particular, like I'm just a little biased, but I think Jaden would look adorable in this outfit. My mom's face was like, were we supposed to know his name? And we were just like, oh
Whoopsie.
no. And then Angel, like without missing a beat, she literally was just like, I mean Jacletus. And and we still to this day laugh whenever we're with her. We mention Jacletus all the time, and it is like our favorite memory of that time in the hospital. And
Oh my God,
so
that's great. That is
yeah,
so great.
yeah. And so we actually have like a little black bear that has like a heartbeat in it that they recorded for us for him. And so the
Nice.
bear's nickname is Jacletus.
Jacletus.
And so it's like whenever we have that little bear, we're good old Jacletus just looking out for us. And so but yeah, that was super sweet just to have that moment and just to have that memory of him. And in just the staff there was just so helpful to bring us
Yeah.
through that. Because we did deliver him on that Wednesday. We were 20 weeks in one day with him, and he was a little bit bigger than his brother. And so his name was Jaden Noah. And so
Nice.
he was born, and just, oh my gosh, it was just so it was so interesting looking back on it, because it's like you would think going through a loss almost the exact same way as the first time, without missing, like with just a few tweaks,
Mm-hmm.
that you would be like, this is my world ending, like I don't want to continue living sort of mindset. But genuinely speaking, we were so at peace after he was born, not because we were like, oh, we're like, we don't have to parents. It was like we knew in our hearts that we did everything that we could to save him, that
Yeah.
we as parents did everything we could, and it wasn't on us that we did not get the care that we deserved. And unfortunately, we do not get to have our son with us, but at the same time, we still have his memory and we still have his story to share, and to say like, this is why it's so important to have medical professionals on your side that know what you want, that know and respect you. And specifically, like something that I haven't really touched on a lot, but so my wife is Black, and something that we've run into and something that I didn't realize for a long time, and I'm not saying this is the situation, but this is a very common thing that has been recorded, is that sometimes Black women in particular are just disregarded in the medical field.
Yeah.
And doesn't, not even just in pregnancy, it's just in general. It's like their pain is less. They don't actually mean what they're saying when they're under duress. Like there was just a case a few days ago, good grief, in Texas,
Yeah, I
where
saw
the
that.
the gal had like they were just like, meh, you're fine. And she had her
Yeah.
baby like 12 minutes later. And I'm like, we need to do better. And as husbands, if you are in a biracial couple, or if you are married to a woman of color, like you need to be willing to have those conversations and to speak up on their behalf, because a lot of times when women of all races or whatever are in that situation, they're not able to express what they really want, and it's so important to have that spokesperson for them. And that is something that I learned through our journey, was having a birth plan was so incredibly helpful when we had our daughter, because I
Mm-hmm.
was able to voice, this is what my wife wants and we are going to do it. It's not up for debate. Like this is what we're going to do. And she was like in the middle of active labor. She wouldn't be able to express that, but like I had the ability to be like, no, you're not listening to me. This is what we're doing. And I wish I would have known that with our second son specifically, because with Davian, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just going into it as a first time father. But with Jaden, I don't regret how we went about it. I wish I would have been even more educated and taken it seriously, because I could have potentially made our situation even more in line with what we wanted initially. And so that's what I would say is an encouragement to dads of like, if you are a father of loss, like your feelings are valid. What you went through is completely valid to feel the way you did. And if you do choose to have kids in the future, educate yourself, prepare, and be there as an advocate for your wife or your partner, because that is the best thing that you can do for them. And that's something I learned. And I wish that there was more conversation around the topic of being a dad in this situation, or being a father in this situation of going through loss and coming out on the other side and finding healing. Because that was something, again, after even our second loss, where I was just like, there's still nothing. It's been 2 years. I got this one book still, and that's still it. Like,
holding on to that one book.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of why, it was put on my heart that I was like, I want to make a resource for men specifically. Like, this is what my calling is, and this is what my heart is. And the reason why that was sparked was after our second son, we had our follow-up appointment with our doctor, and it was like a week after we delivered him. And we were sitting in her office, and she was talking to my wife. We were just having a conversation, which understandable. She just had a child a week ago. And as we were wrapping up, she turns to me and literally looks me in the eye and says, "How can I support you? What do you need right now?" And I was like, I broke down. I would start bawling, because for me, that question, her asking me those questions, was everything I needed in that moment. I didn't have an answer, but just to be seen in that moment.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I still get chills thinking about when she asked me that, because that was the first time in 3.5 years that somebody from the medical profession looked at me, sincerely asked me, what can I do to help you?
Yeah.
And that was so important to me. And that's something that I bring up when I talk to medical professionals. I say, what are you doing to support the dad? Like, just because the mom had the child, carried the child, does not make the dad's role in that relationship any less. They also experienced a loss. Yes, the wife experienced it physically, and probably even more of a heavy burden to lose, but that dad also lost that child.
Right.
And that's so important to realize and to never minimize. Like, before we had our daughter, and again, I want to emphasize, like, I also understand that not everybody's story is going to end with a earthside child. I completely understand that. That is just our story right now. Like, we were blessed with our daughter, but not everybody gets to have that blessing. But that does not mean that, like, I specifically remember after Davian, and then after also Jaden, Mother's Day and Father's Day were two of the hardest holidays, but we still celebrated them because we are still parents.
Yeah, absolutely. You are.
Yeah. And that was so important to remind ourselves of being like, you are still a mom, even though they're not here right now. And I'm still a dad, even though they're not here right now. And that's, like I said, the heart behind the book of, like, whatever your journey is does not minimize that you are a father regardless. whether it be through adoption, whether it be through IVF, whether that be through natural birth, whatever your story is or whatever your lost story is. Like, those are just 3 examples from the book that I've just pulled out. But like, yeah, it when I was seen by that doctor and I was asked those questions, that's when it sparked in me. I was like, I need to write something, because that's what I do. I'm a writer. I've always been a writer since I was a kid. I need to write something specifically for men that is going to truly make them feel seen. And so that they understand that they have the permission not only to feel and to sit with their grief and their healing, but to also know that just because you did not carry that child does not mean that that burden is any less on you.
Right. Well said. And that what you've been through and what you are continuing to do by writing the book is a true gift. And I
I
hope that you
appreciate that.
realize that.
Yeah, I
It is a
appreciate that.
true gift.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot of men have that support like you said, and your book is just one more they can hold on to.
Yeah. Quite literally, it's in the
Yep,
title.
yep. Holding on to the
Absolutely.
light. Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, so just quickly before we wrap up, you do
Yeah.
have an Earthside child. You
I
want to talk
do.
about her just a little bit?
Absolutely. I could spend all day talking about her. Oh my goodness. She
I'm
is such a ham.
sure.
Oh my gosh. So we got pregnant with her around, well, it was a little bit before. It was October of last year when we found out we were pregnant with her. And that pregnancy, we genuinely were like, we are going to do everything possible to best prep ourselves. So we ended up getting a cerclage at week 12.
Yes, yay.
So we got a cerclage, and she did come early. She came at 35 weeks and 4 days, and she was a little bit on the small side. She was only about 5 pounds 4 ounces, but she was healthy. She had a short NICU stay, so she was in the NICU for 25 days. And the main reason why she was in the NICU was because during during the week that she was born is right around the time when they start to learn like the suck, swallow, breathe motion in utero.
Mm,
And so she was born just before she had learned that skill. So she came out and she was having trouble eating. She was able to retain her body heat very quickly. She had 1 round of surfactant, which allowed for her lungs to open up a little bit more, was on room air by day 2. And the only thing that kept her in the NICU was literally being able to eat on her own. So she had a feeding tube for about 20 days, I think it was. And then she was weaned off of that. And so she was doing a combination of breast and bottle feeding. And then day 25, I will never forget. It was like the most joyous day. Because that's something else that I would love to talk about some other time, but like the grief and the trauma that comes with being a NICU parent. Like, I didn't know any, like, I thought being a lost parent was hard, but then being a NICU parent and talking to other NICU parents, oh my goodness. Like, we were in there for 25 days and I was like, this is an eternity.
yeah.
It was literally like you go into that hospital and you'd have to walk down this enormously long hallway just to get to your kid's room, while also like at the hospital that we were at, every single bed was full. And there's over 95 beds in the NICU, and there are babies in various stages. And it just broke my heart because I'm just like, man, that's 95 different families that are also going through something similar that we are. And their journeys are obviously not ours, but like my heart goes out to every parent that has ever gone through a loss, infertility, NICU stay, special needs, like whatever your story is. Like, I truly understand the burden and the heaviness that comes with complicated pregnancies and children's lives, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
trade it for a moment. Like, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like, she is almost 6 months, which is also crazy. Um, she's
They
growing
grow
up so,
fast.
oh my gosh, she's growing up so fast, and she is, I'm biased, but I
Corey.
also have, like other people saying it whenever we go out in public. She is absolutely adorable. Like, she
Oh,
is genuinely like, my wife and I were joking, we're like, I'm just saying she got my wife's genes. Like, I don't know, because she is adorable. She's beautiful. I am not. I don't know where I come into the
stop it.
situation, but like, oh my gosh, she is such a, oh, and she's, oh my goodness, she sleeps so well, and she's like such a chill baby, and she just has like this temperament of like, we'll wake up in the morning and she'll be like very quiet in her bassinet next to our bed, and we'll just like look over and she'll just be smiling up at us and just like waking up, and I'm just like, oh my
Oh,
gosh, this is
sweet.
my favorite part of my day. Every morning I'm just gonna wake up to this beautiful little girl smiling up at me,
Yeah.
and like snuggling her and just being able to put her on my chest. Oh my gosh, it's just like, I'm so thankful for her. And
Yeah.
recently my wife and I actually had a conversation about how thankful we were to have her, and it kind of plays into, so not to keep talking, but like, I have a Substack where specifically I write about our grief journey and like healing through grief, specifically on Mondays. And in the near future, I'm planning on writing an article about holding old wounds of grief, but also allowing for new memories and new growth to come in, and holding
Yeah.
space for both of those,
Yep.
because especially around the holidays, it's so hard to have that joy of like, oh, it's the holidays, like it's supposed to be joyful, it's supposed to be like
Yeah.
family filled, but it's like, we don't have our boys here, and that breaks my heart. But now it's even more complicated, because it's like, we don't have our boys here, but now we have our daughter, and we gotta make new memories with her. And that's so special. And I'm this is like the first time in the last 4 years that I'm actually looking forward to the holidays.
Oh,
And that's
yeah.
that's
That's
such a
precious. That's
it
so
really
precious.
is. It
Yeah.
is. And honestly, like, we desire that we had our boys here, but at the same time, it's like, had we not gone through the story that we've gone through and the losses that we went through, we wouldn't be able to have our daughter.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
Yeah.
it's so complicated. If you've
I
never
know.
gone through it, it's so complicated to see, like, I don't know what you mean. You have a girl, you have your daughter, but it's like,
Yeah.
I know.
Well, it's like holding two thoughts in your head at once. You know, you can do it.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
holding that space and that love for those two boys, and you know the loving memories that you have with them, and then holding space for your daughter who's here and making those memories, and you know spending those moments with her and the holidays, and you can have both of those thoughts in your head,
Yes.
and it's okay. Those boys are with you. They're always going to be with you.
Absolutely.
You know, they're always going to be in your heart. They're always going to be there. So it's important for everyone, you know, who's ever been through a loss to remember that it's a journey.
It really is.
And yeah, it's so difficult, but you know, your story is so inspiring because there is another side, and from grief comes love. And I love that. I love that. And and I hope that so many people listening to this will take that and say, you know what? It is possible. It is possible to feel the grief, but to still feel the love and to still hold on to the light. You know, it's such a beautiful gift that you've given us. So thank you so much for sharing your story and for being here today. Men, if you're out there listening, it is super important that you be vulnerable, take care of yourselves, ask for support. You're not weak if you do that. Take what you can. Go check out Jeff's book. If you've been through this, go check out his Substack. I will put all of those links in the show notes. Thank you so, so much, Jeff.
Thank you. This has been so healing for me. I
Oh,
really
I'm
appreciate
so
your time.
good. Yeah. All right. So thanks for hanging out with us on Fine, I'll Talk About It. If today's episode got you thinking, hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if you want more real talk, more perspective shifts, and more finally someone said it moments, leave a quick review. It helps other people find the show. You can connect with me on Instagram at Expired Action Wellness for more conversations like this. We'll see you in the next episode.